Hello, my friends. I'm Rachel Archelaus, as you know. Hello. And I'm with my dear friend Courtney Fae of
Yay.
Mariposa Sacred Sexuality. And we just have the best conversations. So we wanted to come together today and focus mostly on desire and just talk about that from our two perspectives, which often have different language, but we mean the same thing. So that's why I love talking to Courtney because we kind of like circle around things and expand them and learn from each other. And it just feels really good. But we're also probably going to talk about other things like we already have been before we even hit record. And so I love watching conversations like this because I feel like I'm a friend and I'm included. So feel free to put your own comments below. We'd love to hear from you. And yeah, consider yourself one of us.
Woohoo!
Yeah. So, Courtney, do you want to introduce yourself at all?
Sure, yeah. Well, I'm so excited to be here with you and so grateful for our friendship and connection. And I love what you said about we often have we tend to talk about similar concepts and slightly different words. And I don't know, I love our conversations. They really light me up. And who I am is I'm all about helping people to be lit up and turned on from the inside out. So, like Rachel said, I'm the creator of Mariposa Sacred Sexuality, and I'm a speaker and author and coach. And one of the things I just love is helping people tap into the magic of their sexual energy, which is really their life force and creation energy and creativity and aliveness, and then create the magical lives that they want. When oftentimes it's a magical, fulfilling business, or it's a loving relationship, and it's just really a life of joy and magic and fulfillment, all because of our sexual energy. Yes. So
I
that's a
love it.
little about me.
Yes. Yes. All right. So, like, maybe I'll give us a jumping off point because I had a desire that turned me on. I was looking at these and I was like, oh my God, these are so cool. I really want them. And I hemmed and hawed for about a week. And then I finally got them. And of course, they match my shirt and my coat. And they're just sunglasses. But they gave me that feeling that we're talking about, this like turned on, excited feeling of like resonance. Like this is a visual representation of my truth. And so I bought them. They were more expensive than I bought a pair of boots one time for $650 many years ago, but this is the second most expensive accessory or clothing item I've ever purchased. They were $500. And so I went through this process of like, am I the kind of person that spends that much money on sunglasses? And I had this little like inner chat with myself. And then I realized it doesn't matter. If they're aligned, it's aligned for me and I can afford it and it's not putting me out. And so it's okay. And I bought them and the whole process was so fun. Like learning about them and the design process. And then they came in this really cool bag.
Oh,
The
that's
company
cool.
sent me a note and then they like commented on my social media post. It was just such a fun whole big experience. And Courtney was very supportive during the whole process. So I think we're going to talk about like desire and alignment and your truth today, but it doesn't just stop at internal stuff. It's also like the whole world can turn you on too, and that's okay.
Yeah, absolutely. They commented on your social media post?
Yeah, the
That's so
designer
cool.
and the optical store.
Oh my gosh, that's so cool. Was it the picture with you in the jacket, your green
Yeah.
furry coat in the background? Oh my God, that was such a cool picture. That's amazing. Yeah. Yeah, and one thing that I'm remembering in our conversation that I just think is so impactful and helpful for us to remember when we're making a purchase is to think about how much joy will this item bring us, especially if it's something that we don't necessarily need and we're, like feeling that little bit of, oh, is this okay to do? Is it okay to buy the $500 pair of sunglasses or should I not? Like, da da da. I mean, I feel like our souls are always calling us toward expansion because that's the nature of our soul. I mean, the way I see it is our soul is just pure energy, pure light, and light expands. Like if you have a room and you have, you turn on the light switch, like there's a light fixture in the room, turn on the light switch, the light fixture lights up as much of the room as possible. A light doesn't like say, no, I'm only going to light up this little corner of the room, right? It's like light always expands. And our soul's nature is abundance and expansion and like the stepping into the more. And so sometimes our souls give us these nudges that say, hey, buy this really cool pair of sunglasses. And it's just the same as following intuition. Because like for you, Rachel, in this case, the sunglasses led to something so much more, connecting with this artist community and the designer and also trusting your desire. And there's so much to it. And so it's like trusting our soul when we feel a desire. Like it could even be tuning in to say, is this a soul desire? I mean, most of the time it is, but it's like trusting our soul enough to follow through on the desire. And then also I think asking ourselves, well, how much joy is this item going to bring me, or is the fulfillment of this desire going to bring me, whatever that is. And it's like you can't really measure joy, but I think that's a good earmarker. I remember this one time I wanted to buy this hat and I didn't need it. It was like I should have brought it with me here, but it's like a sparkly hat. And I was like, this is so cute. And I thought, I might only wear this hat like one time. Who knows? But I thought, I don't need it. My mind was going into the whole, I don't really need it. It was only like, it was like $39 or something. It wasn't like a, huge amount of money. But I said to myself, well, how much joy is this going to bring me? And I was like, I'm certain it'll bring me $39 worth of joy. So it's like, I'm buying the hat. And then as soon as I got into my car, I put the hat on and I took a selfie and I sent it off to my family. I sent it off to my partner and they all responded right away like, oh my God, I love the hat and da da da. And I was like, look, I've already enjoyed $39 worth of joy. I haven't even gotten out of the parking lot.
I love
Yeah.
that.
So, isn't that fun? Yeah.
And I know something we both teach is like, if you are in joy, if you're spending with joy, then you can definitely expect more money than what you're spending to come back to you. That's been my experience. And early on I noticed that even when I wasn't as like financially free as I am now, I remember like paying attention to how I felt when I spent money and just realizing that it came a lot faster back to me if I was enjoying the spending of it, even on bills and things.
That's amazing. Well, that makes sense because the joy raises our vibration, and then we're really like in the field of abundance when we're in joy. I always feel like love, joy, and abundance, they all go hand in hand and really work together. So that's so
Totally.
cool. Yeah.
Intimate
Yeah.
Alien would call that a pool. They're all in the same pool. They all,
I love that.
yeah, they like to mingle.
That is so cool. Yeah, and I feel like it's just so important, like I was saying about just trusting our soul and trusting that desire can be a really good thing. Because I mean, I was raised in a traditional religion. It was Catholic, and I really just got the message very strongly that I was supposed to be there for my neighbors, care for your neighbor, like above yourself. And I got the feeling I really shouldn't want money. I really shouldn't want too much, kind of like just enough. And so I think for me a lot when I was growing up, I felt guilty for my desires. It was like, oh, I've got a lot of clothes. I love clothes. Like clothes bring me so much joy. But it's like, oh, I wouldn't want anyone to see my closet and see how many clothes I have, that somehow I'm being bad or wrong. And then over time I realized, well, whether the desire is for a clothing item like we're talking about, or it's a sexual desire, or it's a desire to reach a certain number of people with our message. It's like there's so many different forms of desire. And it's like whatever the desire, it really, I feel like it's our soul. And in a way, it's like it is the divine, whatever words everybody uses for that, source, spirit, universe, God, the divine. It's like I really feel like it's the divine moving through us. because we are creator beings, as Rachel says. It's like we're creator beings. We're creative, we're powerful, and the universe, source, the divine, like, moves through us to create, and we're here to create. And a lot of times desire relates to what we're creating. Yeah, and yeah, do you want to say anything? I have one more thought, but I want to see. Do you want to say anything first?
Well, just to like expand on that, I feel like desire can pull us forward in that process of creating. Like desire is really powerful and we want to follow desire, where sometimes we can put up resistance in our own path. You know what I mean? And like we can feel
Mhm.
overwhelmed or we can like stop what we're doing and think about it too much. But desire, like if we can follow that, it can just pull us forward and make our journey a lot easier.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, it's so true. And that reminds me of, there's so many moments when I have definitely, like, capped my desire, or I, I resisted it and I did not allow it to come forth. And like, just a good example is, for years I've been saying I want to take time off to write my book. But then I thought, well, I've got classes to teach, I've got clients enrolled in my classes, and just I was like, all of my flow, all my energy was going toward teaching, teaching, teaching. And I just didn't understand, how could I take time off to write? And I even thought, well, how can I even pay? Like, I thought maybe I need months to take time off to write. So how am I going to pay my bills while I'm just writing my book? So I let all of these excuses really keep me from taking the time off to write my book. And so I have, like, I don't know, 5 or 6 books that are half written, and none of them finished. I'm like, well, they're not helping anybody. They're just sitting on my computer. But anyway, so just this year, I really decided to get more in my power and to say, I am writing my book. I'm so tired of hearing myself say, I want something, and I'm not actually doing it. That does not feel good at all. So I started just getting more creative and asking, how can this happen? And one of the ways that it came through, how this can happen, is, well, I can sell my house right now. The housing market is really hot, and the profit that I make from that can help pay for however many months I need to take time off to write my book. It's kind of like just that simple. And I never even thought about all these other possibilities. It's like, well, what if I were to find a publisher who wants to pay for me to write my book? There's so many possibilities. And as I like let go of my reins of control of thinking I can't have my desire, just so much opened up. I've had clients reaching out to me asking for this class or asking for private sessions. And so it's like my money flow has been actually doing really well once I decided I'm going to take time off to write my book. But yeah, it's just one of those things where I just did not think I could do this. And then when I just decided I don't care, like, I'm not going to listen to all of that. I don't know how. I'm just going to decide to follow my desire. And then the universe orchestrated everything to fall in alignment, that now I'm writing my book. And it's so fun. I'm so excited. I have so much fun writing. I wrote all morning, and like, I just feel so turned on, so full of life, so fun.
I love that. Yes, I made a similar decision this year too to focus more on my writing and to be a full-time writer, as I called it in the beginning of the year. And I had so much going on that I didn't know how I was going to do it. But the one thing I did completely stop doing publishing services. Um, but then I still was teaching. I still have my private clients. I still have my events. But somehow I've still written like several pilots and a feature, and like I even, I got paid for one of them, and so I am a professional screenwriter, and I'm
Woohoo!
still doing all of that, and I've focused on a couple other book projects, but like when we get out of our own way and we make the decision to do what we want to do, like somehow it all works out. And just like you, my money flow has been excellent too. So like better than last year even. So we don't really have to know how it's all going to fit together. We just have to be willing to like validate our desires and follow them.
Yeah. So beautifully said. That is amazing. And it's like you're totally following your dream. I mean, that's amazing. You're officially a professional screenwriter. It's so cool. And it makes total sense because of your gifts with writing. I mean, it makes so much sense that this is where the universe would bring you, that your higher self would be like, this is what we're doing now. And I think it's so important to listen to that. And I know the more that we deny our desires, first of all, it just doesn't feel good. But also, there's these creations that want to come through us. And when we deny those creations, it's terrible. It's like
Yeah,
I
I
was
think
just,
we should
yeah.
say like for us, desire feels good, right? Like desire,
Hmm.
we want something because it feels good in the wanting of it. And it feels good in the pursuit of it. It feels good taking the steps toward it. And I think, just to clarify, because for some people, they might have a definition of desire of like yearning or without or struggle. So I just wanted to clarify that in case anyone is in that moment, like thinking, oh, desire doesn't, I don't want desires, or desire doesn't feel good to me.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, that's such a great clarification. Yeah. And I need to research this a little bit more. There's some neurotransmitters involved in the wanting of something. Dopamine is very involved, but I just don't fully understand the mechanism of it yet. But it's like sometimes wanting something, the joy of anticipation of something we want. Sometimes that anticipation is even more rewarding than once we actually have it.
Yes,
I mean, right?
totally.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It reminds me in I think it's in Taoism, they talk about the space between the rewards. And that space between the rewards, between the fulfillment of our desires, is a beautiful space. Like, how exciting is it? It just makes me think of making love to our partner, or even making love to ourselves. It's like if you know you have a hot date with your partner, and you know you're going to be having some beautiful lovemaking in that date, and you can look forward to it all day, all week, and just let that excitement for the experience drive you and motivate you and fill you with joy and energy and anticipation. It's like that is such an exciting experience. And especially for women, it's like our, in terms of foreplay, our brain, well, for everybody, but especially women, our brain is very involved in foreplay. The anticipation, the words we exchange with our partner matters, and all kinds of things. So I just feel like, yeah, I love what you said, differentiating desire in terms of like the joy of desire, the feel good sensations that come from wanting something and knowing we're creating it. That's so exciting. And yeah, we're not talking about like struggle or not having it. But I think that's such an important differentiation, because there's the different layers. One layer is giving ourselves permission to have what we want. And like I was saying, with my time off from writing my book, I didn't think I could have it. So I just kind of put my my desire on the back burner. So it's like realizing we can have what we want, just decide that we can have it, and then fully giving ourselves permission to have it or to create it, and then of course taking action to align with our desire, all of those things. And like and I think that's all just really important, because if I think suffering can happen when we think we can't have it, or when we think it's never coming. But it's like
Yeah,
everything we want is right there. It's like if we have the desire, that means the way for the desire to be fulfilled is right there available to us, or I think we wouldn't have the desire. It's just the same as like, oh, I'm craving chocolate cake. Well, you can either make a chocolate cake, I mean, go out to a restaurant where there's chocolate cake. You can order on Uber Eats and have chocolate cake delivered to you. It's just that simple. Like, I want chocolate cake. Okay, well, what is the big thing for those of you listening? Like, what's the big thing that you desire? And it's just that simple in the universe to just be like, I want a piece of chocolate cake. Just that simple.
so true. Yeah, I know. And it's also for me, like like you did with the putting off the book thing.
Mhm.
It's okay for me to just have the desire to want it too. Like sometimes my energy isn't lined up in a way to like go all out and decide and like make the declaration. Sometimes I just give myself permission to want something and to be totally detached to getting it or to a timeline. And I find that for me, sometimes that helps me avoid adding resistance to it. And so it's
Mm.
able to come in a lot easier. And even if it doesn't come in, like I still get the enjoyment of wanting it. Because for me, like you said, like even wanting it feels good.
Yeah, I love that. Right. I love that. No attachment, just wanting it. And then, right, because it's like, this is where I get confused sometimes. The whole idea of we must be specific and claim what we want. That I think juxtaposed against, well, what if the universe wants to actually bring us something even better? What if we're so attached to the way we think we want something that we're not actually receiving an even better opportunity, and so on. And I just feel like, so yeah, it's like, but we must at least know what we want enough that we can actually start taking action or actually start creating it, and then being open to how it looks and how it all lands, I think is so important too.
Yeah, I think it's just like whatever feels better in the moment. Like sometimes for me, getting too specific feels like not right. It feels overwhelming, or it feels like it's too much, or it feels like I don't know yet. And then, or I don't know how it's going to happen and I'm getting in my head about it. And so then I back off. But sometimes when I know exactly what I want, then I just go and get super specific about it. Yeah. So I think it's just like we have to pay attention to how we feel because that's what it's all about anyway. Like we only want it because it feels good to want it.
Yes, I love that. Yeah, and it makes me think about your sunglasses. It's like some really amazing things have opened up for you since you got the sunglasses, right?
Yeah. And like you're saying, it's been a whole journey. Like it's so funny to think about. Like we're spiritual beings, we're energy, but we have bodies and we adorn those bodies in various ways. And like, I went to fashion school to be a fashion designer, and I was always really interested in fashion, but I I don't tend to express myself that way. Like, no one would really pick up on that necessarily. And a couple of months ago, I decided like I'm ready to really express myself visually again, like more often and not just as intimate alien but as me too, and I just feel really good about myself and where I am and like safe enough to do that. And so and then once in a while something will come along and I'll be like, oh, that's me, because before then I was trying to find my style as an adult now and not a kid, and like knowing more and being more experienced in the world. And sometimes it's hard to find your style if nothing's really clicking for you. So that started happening once I had the desire to visually express myself better, and I started accumulating like piece after piece, and this just happened to be one of them. And so it's not even just this one manifestation, it's like this whole journey that I'm on, and so it feels really good.
That's so cool. I love that. I didn't know you'd gone to fashion design school. That's amazing.
It was really fun. It was really fun because I had already sewed my whole life, and I just felt like this was a place I was meant to be, and I learned so much and like
Uh-huh.
how to make patterns and actually, design things and make them, and made cool stuff. And I've been thinking about making my own clothes again, and like it's just so fun how life
Ooh.
can go in waves, and that we don't have to worry about it. Like just keep feeling good, keep following your desires, and like everything is gonna be fresh again. Like I do a lot, and sometimes I wonder, like, oh, I've left this project for too long. Does that mean I don't value it anymore? And of course, the answer is no. Of course, I value it. It'll come back around again when the energy is there.
Yes. Oh my gosh, yes. Yeah. That's so funny you said that because I was just thinking the other day of all the plans that I had for the month of August. And like I was going to launch this program and that event and da da da. And then the month of August, all I was doing was selling my house and just kind of like maintaining my current projects. I didn't do any of these things that I thought I was going to do. And then of course I wanted to kind of beat myself up, and then I just thought, well, that's silly, because what was coming to me of such a cool message was, the whole universe was created, right? So it's like the energy, the divine God source, like just burst this whole universe. And when we create something new, whether it's fashion or a class or a piece of writing or an idea, it's like we're birthing a new universe, or like a whole new creation. And that is such an important process. And sometimes it takes time, sometimes it doesn't happen in the kind of like typical linear fashion when we're just kind of like pushing it out. It's like, no, most creative projects, there's just, like you said, a wave, and a flow. And sometimes we are inspired, we take action. Sometimes we just need to set it aside and just let it be for a minute or for several minutes or several days or months, and then we come back to it. But the important thing is not what time frame we get it out in. The important thing is that we actually birth it, and that it's created in the world. It's like we're just popping out universes or popping out planets all over. Yeah, and it's like it makes me think of the process of a baby being born. It's like we can't rush a baby in its mother's womb. We can't be like, hurry and develop quicker because I have a time frame. It's like, no, the baby needs its time, and the baby even decides when it's coming out of the womb, right? Early, late, on time, da da da. It's really interesting. So I think I just love what you said. It's like going with the flow, which is more of that feminine energy that is rising so strongly in our world now, is just relaxing and allowing.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, relax and allow. Like, it's so much easier than we make it out to be, because most of us think we need to micromanage everything, but we don't. We don't. Our higher self, the
Mhm.
universe, God, whatever you believe in as your higher energy, that's really the force. Like, we're like a steering mechanism, right? Like, we have the feedback system in our body of like where we want to go, but that's all connected. Like, our higher self knows what we want, knows our preferences, knows our potential, knows our capabilities, knows our resistance, our obstacles. So if we can relax enough to like listen in the moment and be guided by our feelings and go in the direction that feels better, like, we don't have more than that to do. So we've got more
Mhm.
time than we think, and we can actually relax and like still get things done and go in the right direction, which is really, really awesome.
Yeah, it is. It's incredible, right? And then, like, I know for myself, I tend to overthink. So it's like I'll get an intuitive, hit and a feeling and a desire to follow. And then I'm like, okay, great. And then I start questioning it and doubting it and like all this extra energy that I feel like something I'm being guided to do more and more is just take that extra energy that I have that used to go into overthinking and just bring it into my body and just like be with the feeling of that desire and the joy of the desire and just be, just sit with it, just not have to do anything, but almost like anchor the energy into the body. And it's so powerful because I feel like so much transformation is through the body, and our creations, our desires are created through our bodies. So it makes sense to take the energy into the body.
I love that. I'm gonna have to start doing that. That feels incredible.
Doesn't it feel so powerful and just so connected? It just, yeah. Yep.
Definitely.
Yeah. And I love what you said. It's just like allowing, relaxing, allowing, and just steering, following our desires. And I just think it's so important to remember that our desires and our intuition go hand in hand. It's like when we feel excited about something, we have a desire for it, we're excited about it. That is our intuition saying, yes, 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 follow this direction. And just don't overthink it, don't question it, just follow. And the more quickly we're willing to trust and to follow, then just so much magic unfolds, and it unfolds so quickly and so beautifully when we follow.
Definitely.
Mhm.
So I don't know how often this comes up in your work, but Do your clients ever fear acting from their ego?
Oh yeah, all the time. Yes.
So,
Yeah,
do you want to talk
yeah.
about that? Like, what's your perspective on that?
Oh my gosh, that's a really good question. Well, the first thing that I will say is I think in many spiritual conversations, the poor ego, the ego gets such a bad reputation. And it's like, people are always like, oh, I must overcome my ego and my ego is so terrible. And it's like, well, like everything on planet Earth, there's a light side and there's a shadow side, right? So, yeah, there's a shadow side to the ego. Sometimes the ego it keeps us separate. It believes we're separate from our higher self. It believes we should be afraid and all of these things. But the light side of the ego is it kind of gives us a human identity and our personality, and it's like it even can relate to our sense of self-worth and even to our sense of confidence. So I, for one, believe that it's important to love and honor and embrace our ego and like keep it in check by all means, but there's a good side to it too, and not to be like, oh, I should get rid of my ego, because we'll never get rid of it. It's just part of the human journey. So anyway, that's my take a deep breath.
I love it.
That's
I
my
love
first
that. I
thought.
feel the same way. It's like, I think
Mhm.
it's a beautiful part of us. Like, we're here on this planet to interact, to have dreams and desires, to want things, to experience things. And like, that's okay. Even as, spiritually minded people, we're going to, like, the more I relax into being a human for this period of time, the more fun I have, the more spiritually integrated I become, the more I get it. Like, the more I see, like, everybody's talking about the same thing. Like, we're all here for the same reason, regardless of your choices, regardless of how you feel politically or religious. Like, we're all here for the same reason, to have the same opportunity to feel good and express ourselves and to share love. And like, I think a lot of times people blame their ego for maybe having some self doubt, or like for having big dreams and feeling guilty about it, or like, you know, everything that you're saying. And of course, sometimes we don't want to listen to the little negative voice. But if there's a little positive voice that's saying, "Oh, I really want that," I think that's a sign that that's in alignment for us to go for it. And sometimes what we get confused, I think, is like when we feel like we have a tangible goal, but we put that as more important than how we feel. Like, we wanted the thing because it felt good to want it. But then if we don't get that, then we feel like our ego led us astray, or that, it wasn't meant for us. And really, we just put the focus on the outside instead of the inside. You know what I mean?
Mm, yeah. Yeah, and giving ourselves permission that plans can change and that we
Yeah.
can adjust our desires. So, like you said, it just felt good, and it felt good to desire something and to have this maybe idea of something we wanted, and like just the feeling good, that is the journey, right? That is kind of like the goal in a way. And so that's the purpose. So it's like, well, just wanting something made us feel good. Well, okay, maybe we don't get it because we changed our mind or circumstances changed, and that's okay. It
Or
doesn't
there's
mean it's
something
good.
better on the way, like you said before.
Yeah, exactly. And it doesn't mean that something wrong happened or bad happened. Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and I think it's just important. It's like everything transforms in a beautiful way through love. So when we love and honor the ego rather than put it down and make it wrong, then it can kind of go into its proper place in our lives. And I also feel like our egos are upgrading vibrationally, just like the rest of us is, just like our body is, and our soul, like our whole system is upgrading. So it's like our understanding of the ego must change to keep up with these vibrational upgrades. And yeah, and just wanting something, it's like, what if, for example, and we're talking about kind of like some desires related to fashion and accessories, but of course it could be desires related to anything. Could be money, could be fame, success, a partner, a new home, the desire to have more free time, more fun, all kinds of things. And so, but we're talking about kind of like some examples of fashion. It's like, what if we just wanted to buy, an item because it's going to make us feel good, and we also feel like, oh, I'll look cool wearing that. It's like, is that a bad thing? I don't think so, right?
Totally. Yes. Yes. Like, this is what I'm talking about. Like give in. We're here, like we're here. We can enjoy it. We can show off, like we can be full of ourselves, like that's not hurting anybody. Like that's bringing us
Yeah.
so much joy, and that joy is contagious.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, it's so true. Yeah. Yeah.
Like I love seeing you in like your butterfly wings and your fairy wings and like all sparklied up, and like I know whenever I go out and I'm wearing intimate alien stuff, people smile, and like it's just, yeah, we can do things
Yeah.
just because we want to, or just because we think we look beautiful in it, or we feel cool.
Yeah, exactly. And then it brings other people joy, which is so exciting when it's like our expression of our authentic self can bring other people joy just from us being ourselves, or just like wearing a certain outfit because that feels in alignment with us, or it's like an expression of our soul, and it's an expression of our own authentic self. And then, like, I don't know, it's just quite incredible that the joy is so contagious, and that if one person's being authentic, it gives the next person permission to be authentic, and the next person, and it's just like, oh my gosh, it's so exciting. Yeah. Yeah.
No,
And
oh
it
my
can happen
gosh.
through these like simple things like fashion. Yeah.
Hmm. This reminds me, Courtney, of when we were in Scottsdale talking about like, what if we showed up as our like multidimensional selves, like fairy or alien or whatever we were feeling like in the moment. It's like totally what we're talking about right now. Like,
Oh, yeah. I just thought of that too. Yeah.
oh yes, and I know you've done this, haven't you? Didn't you go on a beach walk? Was everyone dressed up as fairies?
Yeah, at my Hawaii retreat.
Yeah.
Yeah, because the retreat theme was activating our inner magic. So people brought to the island outfits that made them feel magical. And so we had a beautiful ceremony, this amazing ceremony on the beach where I was wearing fairy wings, and everybody was wearing something that made them feel magical, like a beautiful headdress or goddess outfit, and sometimes wings, like butterfly wings. It was so amazing. And then throughout the 7-day retreat, everyone got a photo shoot wearing something that made them feel magical. So, I mean, it was like for 7 days in a row on that beach, we were all just being our magical selves, and it was so fun and freeing to know there were people around, and we were just doing our things. And we even, like, during the ceremony, we laid down with these crystals, and we laid down and like put the crystal in our womb area and imagined we were birthing a new creation, like a new book or a new class or something, and like push the rock out through our birth canal, just kind of pretending. But so like all these women are laying down on the beach with their knees up in the air. We're like birthing something. And I'm like, can you imagine what people might have thought? But it was so freeing and no one cared. I mean, we were on a beach, it's all good. But yeah, I just feel like, oh my gosh, could you imagine if humans were just more free? Because I feel like part of this human journey, like you said, is totally embracing being a human. That means we get to eat delicious food. That means we get to give people hugs. That means we get to make love. We get to smile. There's all these joys of being in a physical body that we don't get when we're just in spirit form. And it's like, well, why not just be as wild and wacky as we really want to be? Because that's part of being human too, is like that full permission to just go all out. And something else Rachel and I were chatting about recently is just this feeling about being bold. It's like we're just being called to be so bold and not hold back anymore in any way.
Yeah, absolutely. It just feels right now. Like I was just on a coaching call with my group earlier, and Carrie was saying how she's embracing her bold honesty. Like in situations where she would have
Mm.
held back before and saying something, now she's just boldly honest. And it does come with compassion and love, of course, just like where we're coming from. But it's like almost not apologizing for what you want to do or how you want to show up, because we've reached a platform where we trust ourselves. And I think for me, that's how I feel more comfortable, just like not checking myself, like just going with it, saying what I want to say, expressing how I want to express because I trust myself enough to just go for it.
Yeah. Absolutely. And have you found, Rachel, that the weirder that intuitive guidance is, the more accurate it is almost?
What do you mean? Like what's
Like,
weird?
like, I think I think the example I'm thinking of, and then I'll think of how it applies into just our whole conversation of desire. The example I'm thinking of is like when I started doing intuitive readings, and sometimes I would question a message that would come in because it seemed so weird. I mean, one time I was seeing the Berenstein Bears for this client. And I was like, Berenstein Bears, that's so strange. And I was in a group. I was like doing group reading. So I was a little nervous that it might seem strange. But I'm like, I gotta say it in front of everybody. And of course the person was like, oh, Berenstein Bears, that totally resonates with me, da da da. And so I just remember in that moment thinking, I can't ever filter a message because I'm nervous about what people are going to think. And I noticed the weirder the message, the more spot on and accurate it was. And I feel like, our souls are so unique. Each of us is so unique. So it's like if we're trying to kind of like follow what other people are doing in the world and copy them, then we're not being ourselves. And like the more we are ourselves, it's almost like our own style, for example, is unique. Our own work and expression of our work is unique. And so it's like, I guess in a way, maybe what I'm saying is it might seem weird, like when we're being guided to do something, it might seem weird to us because it's unique and it's not being done out there in the world. And so, but if it feels right to us, then we must follow it. But maybe I feel like what I'm saying is the weirdness is just because it's unique and it's not what the others are doing. It might be going against the grain, which is a good sign that we're on the right path of honoring our higher self.
Absolutely, definitely. I totally understand that. And and yeah, like trusting yourself allows you to follow through with those things because they do feel out of the norm. Like trusting you can
Yeah.
handle it, trusting like that is for you, trusting you're getting the right message. All of that is really helped by like knowing how your truth feels to you and knowing that, you are an autonomous sovereign being, like regardless of whatever your living situation is, like all of that.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely right. And just trusting it over and over and over, and then just seeing how amazing it is. Like I recently made a list of all the times that I made a big decision, trusted my intuition, and it went well. Like big things, like moving to Phoenix, Arizona from Michigan after living in Michigan for 24 years. And it's like, oh my gosh, I've now been in Phoenix for 17 years. I've established quite an amazing life here. And it's like, what if I'd never trusted my intuition and that desire that I had to move across the country? And it's like my life would be completely different in so many ways. So for me, it was really helpful to do this journaling exercise to look at all the times I trusted my intuition, and it went really well. And it's like, you can either think of it as all the times you trusted your intuition or all the times you followed your desire, because it's probably the same thing.
Yeah, totally.
Hmm.
It's
Very
also
interesting.
really helpful to remember that you are not a static being. Like for me, sometimes when my truth comes in or a desire comes in that I'm not prepared for, like it feels really weird. I have to remember that I'm not an identity that I've set for myself. I'm actually like a vibrational being, and my truth only
Mm.
exists in the moment. And my truth, my potential is way broader than I conceive of myself. Like when I got the inspiration to start screenwriting, to like tell my story in that way, I was like, I would never go into entertainment. Like I don't know how to screenwrite. Like I don't know how to do that. And I came across like all of these weird thoughts of like, but that's not me. Have you ever said this to yourself? Not you necessarily, but like anybody, like, but that's not me. I can't do that. Right? But that's a good
Yeah.
sign that you've been given a desire or an intuition that it is you. You just got to expand your like awareness of what you can be and who you really are to incorporate the new stuff.
I love that. Yes. Yeah, and our higher self sees it all because we are multidimensional creator beings. And so it's like our higher self sees, you are that, you are this, you are that. And so it's just us expanding, like we're talking about expanding into that vision of who we really are. Because in a way, it's like we are everything, right? We are capable of everything and more. Yeah. Huh. It's very interesting.
You know. Well, I know you have another call in 10 minutes, so I don't want to keep you. But this has flown by so fast. Oh
So
my,
fast.
yeah. So I know
Yeah.
you're gonna have a crazy schedule over the next few months, but if you ever want to do this again on this topic or any other topic, this is so much fun.
Oh my
Um,
gosh, it really is. Yeah, I'd be happy to do it again for sure.
yeah, like, is there anywhere
Yeah.
you want? Like, where can people find you? I know you have some resources. Do you want to talk about those?
Yeah, sure. I have um 2 free gifts actually. And so I'm being indecisive. I'm just going to share both of them with everybody.
Yeah, both. The more the merrier.
The more the merrier. One is called the O meter, and it's how to create a joyful, orgasmic business that turns you on. And even for like, if anybody doesn't have a business or doesn't even want one, I would still recommend downloading it because this O meter is a diagram and then a bunch of information about it. But it's like it's a way to make decisions in alignment with your desires, decisions from a place of your turn on, what lights you up, what turns you on. So I feel like it's a good a good reminder and from what we've talked about today. So the link is sizzlinghotsuccess.com /O meter. And it's sizzlin with just the N, not with the G. So sizzlinghotsuccess.com /O meter. And then the other one is my ebook called Light Your Sexual Fire to create the love and connection that you secretly crave. And that's a really cool download. It goes through my 4-step glow system. And so that one's also at sizzlinghotsuccess.com /ebook. Yep. Yes.
I love it. Well, you said it so fast. I just want to say it again. It's your
For sure.
4-step glow process. So,
Yes.
so good, guys. So good. Courtney does amazing work. And I love how, like, I don't know if I've ever really felt anyone else's energy that's quite like yours. Like, you're grounded, but you're expanded, and you
Mhm.
have access to all this amazing wisdom and knowledge, and you express it in like a clear, compassionate, but like turned on way. So I highly recommend Courtney if you guys are feeling it. And yeah, it's really good stuff.
Aw, thank you so much. I'm so grateful. I love receiving these downloads. Like the 4-step glow system literally came through as this whole big divine download. It was like pages and pages and pages of information. I just had to sit and be like, how am I going to deliver this in a way that makes sense for people? So yeah, but it's amazing. I'm in awe of it constantly, actually, and I don't feel like in a way I don't feel like I can take credit because it just came through me. I can just take credit for receiving it, but
I know what you
yeah.
mean. The same thing happens to me with intuitive art, but
Mhm.
I just decide like, and I mean, I've been doing it since I was 11. So like, what was I really conscious of at 11? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like created itself over the years. But this year I just decided I'm going to own it. I'm going to like, have the boundaries that feel good to me around it. And um I don't know, like it just felt great. Like it's okay to own your downloads because they came from you.
Aw, thanks. I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I did have the courage. I mean, another thing is like having the courage
Mhm.
to share it, right? Like it's kind of what we're talking about. It's like following our desires and having the courage to act on them and also the courage to put our gifts and our creativity out in the world, which you are so amazing at. You're so highly incredibly creative, and you create in so many different ways, right? Through your art and through your teachings and through your writings and multiple forms of writings, and it's exciting. And I love how you share it, and you share it with so much joy and passion and turn on feeling. It's so exciting.
Thanks.
You're
Appreciate
welcome.
it. Well, we're having a little love fest here as usual. I will let you go because I know you have another call. But thanks so much for spending this hour with me. It was really, really fun.
Oh my gosh, thank you. And thank you everybody for listening. And yeah, I'm so grateful. It's super fun.
Yeah. So if there's anything else you want me and Courtney to talk about, just leave that below in the comments. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you again soon. Bye, everybody. Lots of love.
Bye.